So one of the big differences between amateurs and the pros you see on TV as regards to their golf swing is, it's this very first move which gets the club from the top of the swing and drops it into the slot. This is where we see probably the biggest departure for most amateur golfers out there. Now, it only lasts for, this segment of the swing only lasts for about 1/10 of a second, so it's really almost a knee jerk that you've got to develop if you don't have this already. So right after this, let's get into 3 key moves that I think are going to help you if you're not dropping it in the slot correctly, that you're going to get better and better at it as you practice these things each individually. So don't go away. Hey, this is Steve with HitItLonger.com. I'm on a journey to hit it longer and straighter down the fairway all the way to the green, and that includes leaving no stone unturned, whether it comes to club fitting or speed training or just the mechanics of the swing that cause the ball to go farther and straighter also. If you're on a similar journey, I hope you'll hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Don't forget to like this video at the end if you liked it, and leave a comment down below. So we're talking about this series of movements that takes the club from the top down into the slot about halfway down, and it happens almost in a blink of an eye, less than 1/10 of a second probably, and so it really ends up being a reflex action. It's not really something, if you're really going to be hitting a ball out there, it's not going to be something that you'll be able to consciously control on the course. So if you're off in this, and I'll show you some of the common errors coming up, but if you're off with this initial move down, it really is the make or break moment in a golf swing, to where if you're doing it right, well, everything through the ball becomes very natural and athletic feeling to hit the ball long and straight. But if it's off, it starts feeling at the bottom as you go through the ball being very guided or inconsistent. Let's go over a few of the main principles that cause the club to get into the slot like this. Okay, the first thing you're going to need to get better at if you're going to get the club successfully dropping into the slot is to maintain the posture throughout your transition. So probably the biggest difference here of the 3 between amateurs and pro, this is probably where the most difference occurs, is a pro will actually start making the pelvis back up this way as they step down onto the front foot. So actually I'm lifting the chair 1 inch and making the rear end go backwards about 1 inch, where the average amateur, in fact, you could almost trace this on a graph, that the more they leave the chair forward and stand up with their torso, the higher your handicap likely is. Something like this. Here I'm in good shape on the chair, but now I'm going to start to leave it. Now, when this happens, you get a big change in measurements. Now the base of the neck is in a different location, and to get down to the ground, you're going to have to do some fine tuning with the arms and the shaft in order to make the ball square, and so you'll figure out a different route down to the ball from there. You want to work on this, you know, slowly. You can do this at home against the wall, but definitely keep working on. Here, let's do this without a club first. Something like this. Right butt cheek, push, left butt cheek. Right butt cheek, push, left butt cheek. Then you might take a club, do it at home with a club, and then when you come to the range, just hit little shots without losing the posture. So there I actually made the chair oscillate. I'm going to make it lift this time about 1 inch. I'm just hitting small shots so that I can consciously control the action. So I lifted the chair there. I'm not as concerned about the shot here as I am about the actual behavior of the body parts that I'm trying to change the motion. So on that one, I made the butt get backwards a little bit. And you see from the slow motion I've just played that my head has also stayed forward, so this original hip bend, about 30 degrees that I started with, has been nicely maintained as I've gone into the downswing. Now, if you're going to get this magic downswing over this magic downswing secret of the pros, let's call it, if we're trying to be clickbaity, that is going to be the direction that the handle moves in to start the downswing. Usually this goes with and is tied to the amount of chest turn or torso turn that happens early in the downswing. So the worst thing, of course, is step one, where we push this way, and this really precludes the chest from turning. It doesn't allow it to turn, and the club will end up getting stuck behind us a lot, with the handle of the club kind of going down a little bit. What we really want it to do when we get to the top is we want it to cut the first several frames more out in front of us, almost tracking right at the ball for the first few frames before it goes into its curve and back around to the left. So in other words, this would be below it, this would be above it, and we'd want the handle of the club moving somewhat outwards, kind of at a diagonal a little bit, kind of down and out and around at the same time. We need to get the handle back out in front of us again. And the way we're going to do that is to combine it with step one, butt back, and an early attempt at turning the torso. Now you see when I do both of those, it automatically starts to work around me back out in front of my body again to set the arms and wrists up for the big hit at the bottom. Don't resist the torso turning and try to delay it or stay closed, but instead start rotating your torso with the butt back right from the word go. And you should get the handle of the club going on the right track to start the downswing, rather than pulling down too steeply or over the top. Now the third motion we need to make in order to make this magic downswing move is the unwinding of the forearm. So we get it back to about halfway back, and you're going to start to wind the forearm. So if you've seen my pizza box demonstrations before, you'd have the pizza box on top of your hand like this, and you'll just be spinning it about 60 to 90 degrees this way, and that's going to be at the end of the backswing. So you're about here, and this is where I start going into the winding. I'm going to overwind it, so you see I'll go across the line to the right if I overwind it. But what we need to do, as the butt is going to stay back and the torso is going to start to turn, and this will start to drop that shaft out in front of us, and the butt of the club pulling this way will cause the club to drop or shallow with the shaft. Now we're going to add to that by unwinding the forearm like this. So it's this move here you're making. Unwind the forearm. I'm going to do it all together now. It'll be sit back, turn the torso, unwind the forearm, and that puts me in the slot here, to where now I'm at the point where Ben Hogan said he would like to have 3 right hands once he's made this magic downswing move. It feels so perfect, like you just can't miss, that you can just whip through it with the strength of 3 right hands and you'll never go offline. You can just hit it as hard as you want, and you really have great control over the club face through the impact zone. Now, since this happens in less than 1/10 of a second probably, it needs to be practiced many, many times. Repetitious practice, as Mike Austin used to say. And you're going to have to slow the motion down if you're going to incorporate all 3 parts successfully, even without a golf ball. So what I suggest you do, you can practice at home all 3 of these motions first individually. So you might practice at home And breaking this down, this is the way that you'll start working on the downswing, become more skillful. So I'd be working on the pivot drill against the wall here, right cheek, push and lift with the left butt cheek, right butt cheek, push, lift with the butt cheek. Then I'll be working on making sure, unwind the torso, leave the arm. If I'm going to do it without a club, I'll leave the arm back behind me. I will not try or allow the arm to catch up with the belly button, but instead leave it on the side of my body and turn it through, and turn it through. So it would be push back, turn it through freely with the chest. That'll get the handle, the path of the handle, more out and around to the ball, into the right slot that we want, halfway down. And that by itself, because the handle is pulling more out than down, will cause the center of mass of the club shaft to want to line up with the handle's pull and lay down. Then number 3, all by itself, you can just practice unwinding this way. Now I'm exaggerating, and look how much I'm winding the forearm, kind of like a Matthew Wolf style. And this is exactly what he does. And then he rips it into this position, and that gives him a ton of extra club head speed as he's winding and unwinding the forearm, more than most golfers on TV. Most golfers that are amateurs don't do enough of this. So it would be okay to grip down on the club, overwind the forearm, and unwind it. Unwind it, just like that. Now together, that looks kind of funny isolated, but if we add it to the other 2 parts, push, turn, unwind, push, turn, unwind. That puts us in the slot where we're able to sling the club through the impact zone. Let me give it my best attempt to put all 3 together. We'll take a look at it in slow-mo, and I'm sure if I haven't done it exactly the way I want to, I'm going to hear it from you guys. So I'll try to get it right. So again, I advise work on these ideas, these 3 pieces of the puzzle, one at a time first, and then start incorporating them. You can even do them with just the right arm only, here and here. That's the slot right there, just halfway down. Wind the forearm and turn and unwind the forearm. So I'm going from here to here to finish the backswing, and then back to here again to start the downswing. It's about a 60 to 90 degree turn or so, kind of like you're waving, and it's happening the rotator cuff this way. This is why you see my upper arm move back and then back in again. You see? Back as I wind the forearm, and then moves in front of my body this way. So that's the full thing. If Matthew Wolf was doing it, it'd be like this and like this. So he's just doing that wave a little more than most people are. So hey, while building this magic downswing move, if you've been really inconsistent with your golf game, and you know that you've looked at it on video and you can just see that something is wrong about the way you start down compared to when you've watched the pros slow-mo on TV or maybe on a slow-mo YouTube video. Yes, this is tedious to put together, but so is a good golf swing. A good golf swing can be very tedious and take a lot of hours of practice. I can't tell you that this part of it is a magic fix, but I can tell you a shortcut. If you've ever thrown a baseball or skipped a rock, that would be the shortcut mental imagery you might use from here with the rock and here, dropping it in like you're going to skip a rock. Then you can do that with the club. Wind up the forearm, dropping into the rock skip position, or submarining a baseball throw, something like that. So those two mental images might give you a little bit of a shortcut on how you're going to make this Magic Pro downswing move. So hey, I know you have a lot of choices in YouTube instruction. There's tons out there. I really appreciate you watching my channel. I hope you'll pick up my freebies, my free ebook, and my free slice cure video. Head over to my website for over 100 great free videos and articles. And hey, either I'll see you in the next video or I'll see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Take care.